Africa fucking sucks at everything. I'm Nigerian. My father was from Nigeria. My mother is Black American. But so, I don't hate Africa, but I'm gonna keep it real. Africa sucks at fucking everything we do. We fucking suck. We suck at sports. We s- and we and our continent is poverty stricken, lacks electricity. A lot of African countries lack running water, lack electricity. Come on, common infrastructure, and Africa's always being exploited by foreigners. Historically, it's been Europeans, Arabs. Now the Chinese are coming to Africa, taking over Africa. It's like, when is Africa? When is Africa gonna get its shit together? And what made me, what made me to make this video is the Nigerian Olympic basketball team. I had decent expectations for them before the official Olympics started. In the exhibition matches, Nigeria defeated USA and Argentina, two of the top teams, in basketball in the world. And so I had some high expectations for Nigeria to do decently in this basketball Olympics, but Nigeria let me down. We lost all of our games, in the Olympics for basketball. We lost against our first game against Australia. We lost against Germany, and just now we lost against Italy. And I kind of thought to myself the other day, is like, Africa sucks at sports, and it's kind of crazy. You would have thought that Africa Africa Africans would be better at sports than Europeans, but Europeans dominate Africans in like every sport, in soccer, in basketball, in a lot of sports, Europeans dominate Africans, continental Africans. And I was wondering why. I'm thinking, like, you would have thought that since Black people of West African descent are naturally more athletic, that we should be better as Africans should be better at sports. Black people, we are naturally faster in everything, and we jump higher in everything. Like, why is Africa so shitty in sports? I mean, Africa still haven't Africa still hasn't even won a World Cup yet. We still can't even beat these little white boys in soccer. If Black Americans play soccer, if Black Americans had our own nation and we play soccer, we would be winning the World Cup every fucking year. But Africans haven't even won the World Cup yet. So, man, Africa's kind of a disappointment in sports. And like, I thought to myself, like, why is Africa so shitty in sports? It's because of the fucking slave trade. The slave trade is the reason why Africa is so shitty in sports. This is what happened during the slave trade. In the slave trade, millions of slaves were brought out of Africa, you know, and it wasn't just random slaves that they took. You know, um, the slave traders wanted a certain type of African slave. The slave traders wanted a certain type of African slave. You know, the slaves, the African slaves that were the most sought after were the African men who were the most fit, the strongest, the fastest, and the most fit, you know. So the slaves that were mainly taken were men, were African men who were in the best physical shape, you know. So over a span of like hundreds of years, Africa was stripped of its most physically gifted men. Africa was stripped of its most physically gifted men because of the transatlantic slave trade. So the Africans in the continent now are not the Africans who are the most physically gifted, you know. So the Africans now are not the most physically gifted because the Africans who were the most physically gifted were taken off as slaves, you know. So that's why Africans now we struggle in sports, you know. I'm not saying there aren't any good African athletes. There are talented African athletes, but I'm talking about on a collective scale. The Africans of today are not the physical alphas, you know. That's because of slavery, you know. The physical alphas in Africa were shipped off as slaves. Not all of them, but most of them. That's why Africa sucks at every sport now. We can't even win in soccer. We can't win in basketball. We can't win in shit. And this also ties into why Africa is so, why Africa lacks infrastructure. You know, I'm not saying all of Africa is so poor and, you know, we know there's rich parts of Africa, there's developed parts of Africa. But for the most part, sub-Saharan Africa is not developed like it should be. Let's keep it real. Africa, sub-Saharan Africa is not living up to its potential. It's not. Let's keep it real. A lot of African countries lack constant electricity. A lot of African countries lack clean running water. And it's a shame, you know. Africa has all these resources, all these physical resources, natural resources, but the continent is still ran down. You would have thought with all these physical resources, natural resources, that the Africans can use these natural resources like the copper and all these minerals and, you know, to build up a functioning society that has good physical infrastructure. But Africans can't even do that. And we know Africa was colonized, and we know that, Africa was colonized. That's one of the reasons why Africa is behind, but that's not the only reason. If Black Americans had our own land, our own natural resources, like how Africans do, our continent would be popping. If Black Americans had the same land and the same natural and physical resources that Africa has, our continent would be much further, much more developed than Africa. The reason why Africa is not developed, one of the reasons is because of slavery. Slavery is still hurting Africa, whether you like it or not. Slavery is still hurting Africa. Slavery caused a brain drain in Africa. It did. During slavery, like I said earlier, the slave traders specifically targeted out certain men to be taken out of Africa as slaves. Slave traders targeted certain African men as slaves. You know, if a tribe of men, a group of men, a village of men were known to be intelligent, successful, industrious, those were the African men who were targeted to be slaves. You know, so not only was Africa stripped of their physical alphas, but Africa was also stripped of millions of their intellectual, intelligent alpha men. You know, a lot, majority of West Africa's and Central Africa's intelligent men were shipped out of Africa as slaves. So it caused a brain drain in Africa. That's one of the reasons why Africa is not developed, because Africa was stripped of its most intelligent minds during slavery. That's why that's why you see a whole bunch of Black Americans in history who invented things, but the Africans who were in Africa, you didn't see them invent anything, did you? But you see Black Americans inventing everything. You know, Black Americans invented the car, Black Americans invented streetlights, and Black Americans invented electricity. And we come from the same bloodline as our continental African brothers. How come they didn't invent anything? It's because the most intelligent African minds, a lot of them, most of them, were sent off to as slaves to the Americas. And the dumb, unathletic motherfuckers stayed in Africa. I'm not saying, I know, okay, it kind of sounds fucked up that I just said that. No, there's intelligent Africans. We're not saying all Africans are dumb, but slavery caused a brain drain in Africa, and that shit is evident. Africa has all the tools to be a great continent, all the natural resources. We should be way further than we are now. And I think one of the reasons is because slavery stripped Africa of a lot of its intelligent men. Intelligence and athletic ability are genetic. Are you guys? Are